I got a request on doing a longer video on YouTube about how to make your synthesizer patches on the Korg Wavestate. And I did a short about it, but because of that request to do a longer video, figured I'd make one. So I have a couple philosophies about how to use the different layers. So the first one that came to mind is just having different layers that work together and then toggling them on and off with these four buttons up here. You just double click them to toggle them on and off. So you can see all four are on right now. How you change it is you go to the lane preset and have the sample thing highlighted here. And then you see here init sample lane is selected. If I press enter, it opens up this drop down menu and I can just swirl through them and I can audition them and see what they sound like. So I like to have different layers that kind of emulate what an orchestra or different ensemble would sound like. So if you have, for example, strings and violin strings, as well as cello and a double bass, maybe a drum set as well. And also think of having different sounds that have different attacks. So some take longer to come in than others to give a kind of another sense of layering sounds together. So you have a sound that can hit right away, and then a longer sound that builds up in volume, like a string or some type of fading in sound, or also fading out works as well, just so that the layers kind of stand out from each other and have a different purpose to them. And then another one that I just actually really started doing today was to have different layers that are played completely separate from each other. And so, for example, like let's say an A section and a B section. So I'm not going to have them playing at the same time, but I'm going to have the first layer, which in this case is a flute. And then when I'm done playing the flute, I can switch, toggle it off and then toggle on my second one. So it's right away at my fingertips. And it's like a marimba arpeggio. Pretty cool. And then I can have a third one, with a completely different sound, toggle the second one off. You can also do that with the favorites, the set list favorites here, which I also use a lot. How you write stuff on there is you hold the right button and press the button corresponding to number that you want the patch assigned to. So favorite 5, for example, in set list 1 in this case. You can toggle the set lists here by holding the set list button and pressing, for bank 2, bank 3, bank 4. And in each of those 4 banks, there's 16 favorite presets that you can store. So I'll just show you another one. So right now I have, oops, I'll go back to my layers one. Place here. So go to my lane preset and scroll and do a different one. I can solo it. That's kind of subtle. And if I add the other one in, really layers. And the third one. Another good trick you can do is actually start with some of the pre-made patches, some of the presets that already exist. And then, for example, sunflower bass, let's pick that one. And then I can, add a fourth layer to that works well. In each of your layers, you can choose the start and end of the wave sequence. You can choose how it repeats. In this case, it's repeating infinity as long as I hold it down. And then you can also, just like any traditional synthesizer, you have your filters here. You have the Poly 6 filter, the Korg MS-20, a high pass filter, and more other filters with the kind of some of the standard control parameters, the cutoff frequency, how much resonance you want, the envelope intensity, amplitude level, and so forth. And then there's the octave pitch and tune, as you can see here. You have the amplitude envelope, pitch envelope, and vector envelope, which you can adjust with this joystick, how the behavior of it, depending on the quadrant you're in, basically. And then another thing to remember when you're playing with your different layers is these performance knobs here. So I like messing with the pitch one a lot, actually, because even if you're playing, let's say, a standard piano patch, you can change the pitch so that basically it changes the chance or probability of playing octaves